Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandvat Pranams. So, Prabhuji, now you can start. Thank you so much for your association.
Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevayam Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakayam Chakshuram Militam Yenam Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namam Vishnu Padayam Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedantam Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityanandam Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So we are going to continue our discussion on the very interesting as well as important for a practicing devotee to know how does he need to function for him to be part of the purification and also going towards Krishna. So the topic that we have been churning is not something very popular or not something very welcomed in general, otherwise nobody wants to know how I'm going to be punished. But it is good to have this information, otherwise Sukadeva Goswami Pad and all the acharyas would have not touched upon this topic. So we have been going through some basics as well as trying to establish a strong foundation to establish this topic on why somebody is punished and what is the root cause of someone's doing whatever he is doing, right or wrong. So right now I am in a holy place called Madurai. I was in Vrindavan 3-4 days, and then I had to come down to Madurai for some more services here. So we are hearing live from Madurai, and so we will learn something. Just let me. I did work on some presentation. I'm not sure if I have done everything, but I have put in something together. Just 1 second. Let me try to pull it out. Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya. So this discussion of okay, as I am trying to load this. So we have been discussing about various points with respect to this topic. So from the point of how let us not underestimate the Lord, and try to appreciate the whatever the Lord is doing is for our purifications. And we discussed about 5 reasons for suffering. We discussed about types of people, how one deals with his or her mistakes, and we spoke about how Krishna consciousness is joyfully performed, and how it is important for us to practice dharma, righteousness. Unless we are righteous, we have a big challenge. And we also spoke about preliminary qualities of a civilized person from Bhishma Dev's instructions, as well as we spoke about agarma, irreligiosity. In our last class, we heard about different types of actions, karma, vikarma, and the associated points, and the root cause of our action is prakriti kriyamanani, where we said that how ego is edging the God out, and also we spoke about pavarga and apavarga, where Srila Prabhupada writes that so long as we are not subscribing to the science of Krishna consciousness, so we will be, fearing for death, and all our endeavor will definitely go waste. So I do not know why I am not able to get this. Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Give me a minute. Hare Krishna. So it's a big file, so just give me 1 second, please.
Recording in progress.
Can this ID that I have to be given co-host, because I'm just pulling out of my computer. Okay, thank you. Can you all see the screen?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, and probably I say 2 pages of mantra. Let me start. Okay, so we had these discussions, reflections so far. So basically, this whole science of Krishna consciousness is very much focusing on trying to elevate our consciousness from animalistic consciousness towards divine consciousness. So long as we are not going to get out of our animalistic propensity, Srila Prabhupada uses the word called doggish mentality. So we are going to suffer in this material world. So somebody said this, that nowadays people are trying to be pretty smart. They're trying to be doing things to become a very smart guy, but not wanting to be a wiser. Because even machines are getting smart and smarter to an extent that they are trying to go the full Monty to become the smartest tools for us to utilize for our convenience. But being from hard work to smart work, and from smart work to wise work, because wisdom, the spirituality subject matter, happens to be the baseline for our functioning of Krishna consciousness. That's why we ended our class with this Apavarga, point. So hence, we need to know that severity of punishment is based on a person's consciousness. So Srila Prabhupada explains in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada explains that how a person is trying to be in the mode of ignorance depends upon his consciousness. The severity of punishments were awarded or given to that person. If a person is performing activities in the mode of ignorance unknowingly, or a person performing the act of ignorance knowingly, to an extent, but then if a person is voluntarily committing that, so we spoke about those three levels of gradation. So Srila Prabhupada says that he is bound to be punished, and their destinations are going to be different. So different types of English comments were decided. So we will just go by Prabhupada Vacha, what he's saying from Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Traigunya Vishaya Veda, Nistraigunyo Bhavarjuna, Nirdvandvo Nitya Sattvasto, Niryoga Kshema Atmavan. The bewildered spirit soul, under the influence of the three modes of material nature, thinks himself to be the doer of activities which are in actuality carried out by nature. So I'll read some portion of the purports. So Srila Prabhupada writes, all the living entities who are in the material world are struggling very hard. They are struggling very hard for existence. For them, the Lord, after creation of the material world, gave the Vedic wisdom advising how to live and get rid of the material entanglement. When the activities for sense gratification, namely the Karma Kanda chapter, are finished, then the chance for spiritual realization is offered. So, the reason why Krishna consciousness Apavarga point was highlighted by Srila Prabhupada is that so long as we are not going to be coming out of our karma kanda or materialistic thought process, so we are going to suffer in this material world, and that is why Bhagavad Gita is given as a manual. Bhagavad Gita is given as an opportunity for us to get rid of this cycle of birth and death. So Srila Prabhupada writes, as long as the material body exists, as long as there are actions and reactions in this material, as long as material body exists, there are actions and reactions in the material modes. one has to learn tolerance in the face of dualities such as happiness and distress, or cold and warmth. And by tolerating such dualities, become free from anxieties regarding gain and loss. So, our lesson here is to note that at some point in time, as a intelligent person, as a person who understands that he needs to get rid of this suffering, because if we are not clear that we are even suffering, we have a bigger problem. We spoke about this earlier. So if I understand I am suffering, if I understand that I am in this material world and I am actually inside a, what we call as inside a dal, inside a quicksand. So it is extremely important that at least we realize that, otherwise we will go completely drowned into that. So once I know that I am continuously suffering, if I do not come to that senses that I am suffering. So that is why these educations are good, and we repeatedly hear them reinforces. So Srila Prabhupada says that yes, so long as this body, we are going to suffer. One has to learn to tolerate the dualities. Sahi, galat, acha, bura, good, bad, all those dualities are going to torture us. We will be swinging between two extremes at some point in time, always. And there will always be some gain and loss. That's the effect of operating in the mode of material nature. Even if you are operating in the mode of goodness, there is going to be some associated reaction. So that is why we spoke about, the aspects of working out these three modes of material nature. So this chart actually gives us a snapshot. This is from the reference code that I mentioned is from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 14, through the pages of verses. Srila Prabhupada is explaining the three modes of material nature. So when we operate on a mode of goodness, at least we should operate on the mode of goodness, because to begin our devotional life. So we have some sense of happiness, satisfaction, knowledge, superiority. And what is the result of that action? We will get elevated to higher planetary systems. At least we will get, some sort of good results. Maybe temporary, but at least we will not suffer. At least we will get to benefit from this mode of goodness. The characteristics of this mode of goodness is, at least it will free us from sinful reactions. If you recollect our day 2 sessions, we spoke about bhakti, dharma, adharma, bhakti, dharma, and adharma, and we said that at least we should come to the stage of not committing sinful activities. So, but when you are operating on the mode of passion, we are attached to fruitive results. And it binds us. It binds us towards our, our desires. It binds us as we get desire, we get attachment, and sometimes we get, hatred also. And this mode of passion is different from being passionate for our mission. They're two different things, because we need to be passionate, because passion means action. Mode of goodness is thought process, but the mode of goodness to be put into action, we need to be passionate. So sometimes when we discuss with devotees, they think that the word passion itself is a bad word. But I guess the word to be associated with the purpose and goal, then it has a different connotation. So a person who is a practicing devotee, he need to perform action, he need to shake and move things, he need to execute devotional activities, which means he need to be passionate. That is different from mode of passion here. That being in the mode of passion, you will definitely get into greed and some sort of a materialistic thought process. So our whole functioning will be centered around what I desire, what I like, what I don't like, and I will get too personal about it, and I fail to realize my surrounding. This happens even to a practicing devotee, because as we said, we are walking on two boats. As a practicing devotee, we are not able to take a judgmental call. Yes, this is the day that I will lift my leg from the boat of materialistic enjoyment. I was speaking to some devotees, and we were discussing that how can we all write on a piece of paper and say, if I achieve this materialistic results, then I will completely relinquish materialistic activities. With that results, I will execute Krishna consciousness. Say, for example, I write a dollar amount. If I have $1 million in my bank or in my asset, I will focus 100% Krishna consciousness. Can we say some benchmarking? We are not able to, because we keep shifting our benchmarking, because we are always restless and we are always under a fear because of our power mentality, that we are not able to come out of that conditioning. We are not able to come out of that state of mind that I will ever be able to end that. In fact, some of us are starting to think. I mean, at least the devotional behavior that we see. They say, Prabhu, Krishna consciousness to chal raha hai. I want to also make sure that this is a balanced approach. I don't know, how people are understanding the word balanced, but Krishna explains what is actually being balanced. Krishna explains very nicely the word balanced in that very famous verse. Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu katachana. Krishna is explaining very nicely. You dutiful work detached to the results. So you work. Nobody is saying do not perform your karma. So you have a right to perform your duty. So from that perspective, yes, you have to be balanced. But you do not have a right to the results. So when we are talking about balanced approach, when Krishna is talking about ma phalesh kadachana, you are not entitled to the result of action. Ma karma phala hetu bhur. Never consider yourself the cause or the results of your activities. Just because you desire the results. So there is a very interesting concept called the concept of the source of income versus source of maintenance. So many a times we think our source of income is our source of maintenance. No, our source of income could be your work, but you are not maintained because you work. You are maintained because Krishna has its own arrangement for you according to your metrics, whatever, good, bad, ugly scenario. So hence he says, Mate Sankostya Karmani, never to be attached to not doing your duty by thinking that the results are not yours, or by fearing that the results are going to cause bondage. So the idea here is that in the mode of passion, what we are stuck here is sometimes because of Prabhu, it is my duty, and because I am performing my duty, I am supposed to be focusing on the results. As we will be discussing, later, when a person is in the stage of Krishna consciousness, his thoughts, his words, his actions, everything is doubted to Krishna. Kayena vacha manasrendriyaiva buddhyatmanavat prakrite swabhavat karomi yatyat sakalam parasmi narayana iti samarpayami. So from their perspective, the entire existence is surrendered to Krishna. That is devotional thought process. That is why we always say that in Krishna consciousness, that we are not supposed to have Krishna consciousness just as a part of our life. Krishna consciousness is a way of life. So hence, it is important that we understand that mode of passion is limited. And when come to mode of ignorance, this is where our problem starts. Our problem starts because mode of ignorance, you look at the binding force, laziness. This word laziness is used by Viswanatha Chakravarti Thakura in Madhurya Kadamini in one place. He says that this one nature probably we would have worked out pretty much in many more things. We would have got proper knowledge. We would have got proper association. We would have got proper necessary resources. But somewhere or the other, when we are not able to overcome this laziness, or we call it as procrastination. Sometimes that is why this modes of material nature is like an intertwined arrangement. You cannot at any point in time put together and say that I am, very much clearly on the dot, on the go, with respect to my only one mode. I'm only in the mode of goodness. I'm only in the mode of passion. I'm only in the mode of ignorance. You can't say that. It is always intertwined. So what if we have some components of ignorance, which is very powerful? And that component of ignorance can pull us down. So that's the risk. Can make us, suffer. That's the risk. So that is why Sukadeva Goswami says, because of the varying degrees to which living entities are influenced by the different modes of nature, their destinations are also of different varieties. So Krishna is explaining the result is life in hellish worlds. This is definition of sins, offenses, and general etiquette, because our entire different types of punishments, we are going to classify using one of this as the metrics, because sins are dealt differently, offenses are dealt differently, and etiquettes are something we call as code of conduct. Sometimes we just do not follow the code of conduct. I am putting that as a separate agenda item because code of conduct could be situational mistakes or situational shortcoming. It may not be an intentional activity. So the reason is, as a practicing devotee, I need to know to differentiate between my sins, offenses, and what my code of conduct is. That is why in offenses itself we call something called as seva aparadha. What is seva aparadha category talks about? Seva aparadha is considered as an aparadha, which is where I am supposed to be conducting myself in one particular way, and I have not conducted well that way. Of course, when discussing about the aparadha, so we have this concept of Nama Aparad and Vaishnava Aparad are two very intense, very strong types of aparads. Seva Aparad and Dham Aparad are somehow they are aparads, but still they can have a very they can be very easily handled if our two other aparads are taken care. So I want to discuss in the sense that how when a person is Understanding the difference between them, it will help him to function better. So Papa sins are against Dharma. It is against righteousness. Whether you are knowing them or unknowing them, whether you are in ignorance or committing this act out of arrogance, sins will have sinful effects. Sinful action, sinful effects. Now the interesting part is, many times practicing devotees, we are told that koti janma kritam papam smaranena vinasyati. Because we are chanting the holy name of the Lord, we do not have any sinful effects. That's a true statement. But to the extent that we are not continuously committing sinful activities. If you are going to continuously commit sinful activities, and if you are going to be a practicing devotee, it is also going to be one type of an aparadha. So the idea is that when sins performed on the strength of Krishna consciousness, it's going to be aparadha. Aparadha means against Srimati Radharani. Offenses means of the senses, of the fences, which means it'll take you outside of the fence. It'll throw you outside of the fence. We are within the fence of Krishna consciousness. And because we are off our senses, these aparadhas are being performed. So differentiating between sins and aparadha, as a practicing devotee, we should be very clear. We are going to draw a small flow chart about this particular act of sins versus aparadha in a bit. But the point is that it is extremely important that we need to learn to differentiate them. Because in Krishna consciousness, whilst we have so much of mercy flowing our way, in Krishna consciousness, we have so much of leeway coming our way. In Krishna consciousness, we have so much of opportunities coming our way. But one thing we are always warned is of this aparadha. As Srimad Bhagavatam explains, Srimad Bhagavatam is saying in 5th canto, 26th chapter, text number 5, the chapter that we are referring to in terms of the hellish planets. Sukadeva Goswami explains, all the hellish planets are situated in the intermediate space between the 3 worlds and Garbhodaka, and he is explaining that how the hellish planets are pushed down, pushing us downwards, and the punya activities, the dharmic activities are pushing upwards. We'll just see a chart in a bit. The idea is that at the end of the day, in our Krishna conscious journey, if we commit sinful activities on the strength of the holy name of the Lord, that will become an aparadha. And etiquette refers to code of conduct. If somebody does not perform his code of conduct, because one type of punishment that we are going to discuss is based on not following the proper etiquette. For example, I'll give an example. This whole act of the whole beginning point of Vritrasura's pastime, where it all started, Indra did not follow the etiquette of respecting his spiritual master when he walked into the room. Technically, if you see, Indra's agenda was not to disrespect. Indra was not by design a disrespectful candidate. I mean, he is a sincere soul. He is a very nice, wonderful devotee. He is a representative of Krishna's administrative body. To an extent, Krishna says, if I don't get a suitable candidate, I will come myself as Indra. So what happens in the Dhritarashtra? The whole agenda of Dhritarashtra's pastime, beginning point is just that simple act of code of conduct. The Samudra Manthan pastime, the pastime where the demons won over demigods, and eventually the demigods went to Krishna, and milk ocean churning pastime. What was the beginning point of that? The beginning point of that was that because Durvasa Muni, gave a garland to Indra, so Indra gave that garland to Airavata for whatever reason. I mean, it's all, you can always underlie everything as source for Leela, but if you analyze them, Durvasa Muni got hurt. So this code of conduct, which we can extrapolate as Seva Aparad, it is something, I am putting it as a separate classification just because the intensity wise, if I can properly handle my Nama Aparada, 10 Nama Aparada, if I do not commit Vaishnava Aparada, remaining two are handleable, but they are not supposed to be overlooked. Because intentionally, if somebody overlooks, definitely they are becoming a grave offense. So, all our 8 different types of punishments that we will be seeing will be based on one of the metrics is this. So, we are also going to see one other metric, because every type of sins or every type of aparadha or every type of etiquette break is given some punishment. And there is one more category where we will be discussing punishment is absolutely in the platform of devotion, where to increase devotional sentiments and loving exchanges, and it is about completely not in any of the materialistic modes, not because of any of the situation. For example, Raghunath Das Goswami was punished by Nityananda Prabhu. We call it as festival of punishment. So this Raghunath Das Goswami was not offending Nityananda Prabhu. But Nityananda Prabhu wanted to give his extraordinary blessings, because Raghunath Das Goswami had a wonderful heart. Raghunath Das Goswami had a desire to constantly accompany Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who kind of checked him, saying that you cannot go now. So the idea is that these classifications are important for us to know, because there is something called as a festival of punishment. And when we discuss that portion, we will analyze how just by the quote unquote Nityananda Prabhu punishing Raghunath Das Goswami, there's an unlimited mercy to an extent that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu are keeping their lotus feet on Raghunath Das Goswami's forehead and head and their heart. That they say you just take unlimited mercy. But that is all into a deep subject where we cannot switch ourselves to that zone. We will discuss them as a part of the types of punishment, but then that is on the platform of devotion. So technically, we'll have to start from a very basic level. So at this point in time, I would like to show something with respect to our. I'll just share a whiteboard. We want to discuss about a small flow chart. This flow chart, I don't know how this should start. Can you all see my screen? Whiteboard? Okay, so basically what we are going to discuss is that when we are performing an action, it is important for us to know that our actions are done in a manner by which we will avoid sin or offenses. The flow chart that I want to draw is about these systematic stages that we will go through and how we eventually lose ourselves. So this is to help us realize, this is to help us, realize how one can identify when he is deviating, when he is digressing. Because as I mentioned, if we are going to commit sins, we will get to see them, see their effects. If you are going to commit aparadha, it has its own cycle of events. At some point in time, we should learn to recognize them and try to, come back. Otherwise, it will be too late for us to, get into this. So, in case of sins, can somebody acknowledge if you are able to see the screen?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Prabhuji, we can see.
Yeah, thank you. So when somebody is committing sins, the basic immediate effect of sins, sometimes we will not realize them because we are in ignorance. The root cause of sin is ignorance. I am ignorant, because of which I am committing sin, or because of arrogance. If somebody is ignorant and committing sins, or somebody is arrogant and committing sins, the net result is same. Arrogance is because of ego, and ignorance is because of many reasons. One of them is laziness, or second is company. One's ignorance can be associated with plenty of things, because he chooses to remain ignorant because he's attached to his company. The very simple example of our Indradev was punished to become a pig. So when Brahmaji called him to come back, Indra said, "No, I am very happy with my family here, so I will not come." So when I am committing sins, I will be, somewhere in this zone. This is okay. This is analyzed because we are, trying to study this whole topic. Otherwise, when I am in the mode of committing sins, probably I don't realize them. It is like a doctor analyzing a particular disease. A person in the diseased condition, a person in the diseased state of mind may not realize, may not even see these things. But because we are trying to cure us, it is important to know how the disease impacts us. It is like doctor will tell you, "Sir, if you do not take care of these things, the disease will going to, make it complicated and you are going to suffer." So, with respect to our sufferings in Krishna consciousness, with respect to our sufferings in material life, with respect to our sufferings in devotional life, all these three sufferings are different. Sufferings in Krishna consciousness and devotional life is something that is called as austerity and it is meant to take us go closer to Krishna, and that the word is not called suffering, that is called as some sort of purification, and it is also a joyfully performed activities. And the example is given as a pregnant lady's pain. A pregnant lady's pain is never a suffering. A pregnant lady's pain is joyfully accepted. But here, when someone is committing sins, whether it is out of ignorance or out of arrogance, the net result is you are punished. So this This is a very simple understanding. So the very reason why we are against ego, why we are against laziness, why we are against bad company, is that it will definitely take us towards sinful life. This is even for a normal person who has got no understanding about spirituality. Now let us talk about those who are in Krishna consciousness and commit offenses. So in Krishna consciousness, we commit lot of offenses. Aparadha. So here I would classify offenses into two sources. One is, this is mainly meant for devotees in Krishna consciousness. The idea is that if somebody is on the strength of Krishna consciousness, commit sins. Second is, out of conditioning, commit sins in Krishna consciousness. They will also be classified as offense. And third is activities done against devotion or devotional association. So any of these three will come under the bucket of an offense. I commit sinful activities on the strength of the holy name of the Lord is an offense. So a devotee cannot say, because I am a devotee, I should be forgiven. You will definitely get double whammy. And out of conditioning also, out of conditioning meaning that because of my extended suffering in this material world, because of my extended um, um, stay in this material world, because of my extended situation in this material world, I suffered or I have a problem. So then also I am going to commit offense. And third is activities definitely done. Again, this activity is done against devotional activities and devotional association can be of two types. One is because I was ignorant about it, or second is because I was careless or overconfident, or even say extra familiarity. So the idea is that when I am practicing Krishna consciousness, when I am saying that no, this is I did it because I didn't know, I thought I did it out of this ignorance is forgivable. All of them are forgivable if you ask for forgiveness, but this particular one that I am pointing here, this ignorance that I was not aware, because as I am growing in my Krishna conscious days, as I am moving upward from Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya, so some set of a leeway are allowed because you are prone to make mistakes. So you just ask for a forgiveness, and this is not going to be held against us. A simple forgiveness takes care. But when somebody is careless, when somebody is overconfident, when somebody is extra familiarity, this is something that we need to, be very careful, because this comes under the classification of arrogance, as we spoke with other cases. Because I did not want, I have not given extra care, extra attention towards this. So when I am not going to be extra careful, that is why Rupa Goswami says, bhakti is like walking on the razor's edge. Why is he saying walking on the razor's edge? Because we are supposed to be careful when we are performing devotional life, and careful here refers to that I get educated. You cannot say I never knew, that is why I made a mistake. Half of the time I will get to hear devotees saying that because you are chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, because you are practicing your Krishna consciousness, you are, you are forgiven, or you are taken care. It's a true statement, but that statement should not be, misused. If somebody misuses that statement, then there is a serious trouble. So when a person is committing sinful activities on the strength of the holy name of the Lord, out of conditioning commits sins in Krishna consciousness, and if a person, that is why a practicing devotee, if he is committing sins, he has to be careful, because he is expected not to commit because of his exposure to Krishna consciousness. That is why Prabhupada's first instruction to all his practicing devotees are to start following the four regulative principles. So now with this agenda, how does the offense impact? Let us just look at. Now I am committing offense. What is the first thing that will happen to me? The first thing that will happen to me is that I will tend to undermine the science of Krishna consciousness. When I commit any offense, the impact of the offense is such that it tends to undermine. I was hearing a quote of Gaur Gopal Prabhu. So he made a very nice point. Galti karna prakritik hai. The sense to error is human. If I do not if I generally tend to make a mistake, and I'm a human being. I'm prone to make a mistake. Galti pahchanna, to realize, it is important that galti ko sweekarna, accept that I made a mistake. ये सांस्कृतिक है. It is our culture. And गलती सुधारना ये प्रगति है. That is the progress. So the whole agenda of this topic is that I have to know that I am prone to make mistake. Hence, I have a culture to accept my mistakes, so that I am ready to change them. So the reason why this flow chart is discussed is, if at any point in time, this is just a logical thinking, it is not a stone written flow chart, it's all just a logical understanding to help us dive deep into the thought of offense. Several years before, there was an article published in Back to Garden magazine. In that magazine, they had published about fall down in Krishna consciousness. Almost 7-8 devotees had published. So, fall down in Krishna consciousness. That's a very interesting article. So, where they analyze why a devotee falls down. Fall down ho gaya, fall down ho gaya. So we sometimes make it as a colloquial statement, a normal passer-by statement. What is fall down in Krishna consciousness? How can we fall down when I'm in Krishna consciousness? When Krishna consciousness is giving me so many assurances, so many protections, so many coupons to redeem my mistakes, so much of leeway, I still fall down, which means I need to know that I am a willful defaulter or I have fallen into any one of those categories. So the immediate impact of an offense is I will tend to undermine the signs of Krishna consciousness and for chanting will reduce. Because if you see how Kali operates, is that my taste for chanting, my interest for chanting will definitely get compromised. So this agenda, why we are discussing too early, is because when we analyze these symptoms, we will go to see in different use cases how things have happened, how that fall down happened. We are going to discuss about Indra's use case on Vritrasura as one of the case studies. Indra, just by one code of conduct, he made a mistake. And then he asked for forgiveness and once again he repeated the mistake, some other mistake. This time little more serious. Then he did third time more serious. Then fourth time more serious. So he never learned from this mistake. To an extent it became intense and intense and intense. So we as a practicing devotee also have this propensity to not to learn from one mistake and we keep repeating them. So at some point in time, we need to be treated with some acute punishments. So the effect is, the reason of all these things, our taste for chanting reduces. When taste for chanting reduces, what is an obvious thing that will happen? Respect for devotees reduces and we tend to see devotees as ordinary people. Probably this was the root cause. This is the cause and also effect. Maybe the whole thing began because we did an offense, but when we commit an offense, this becomes an obvious choice. We take them for granted. We try to say that no, Prabhupada was great, but some other, Baba is also equally great. So our whole, thought process goes down to an extent that we further give less importance to the instructions and accepted services. We take the services for granted. So we don't try to understand the service that we are supposed to be doing. We are supposed to be doing with utmost sincerity. When we are offending, we give less importance to the instructions. We do according to our. We do just because we want to prove a point. Because we already have a hat of a devotee, saying I am a devotee, so I will do what I want to do. Start to go away from devotional company. So it is extremely important that when things are happening in this manner, when things are going on in this manner, so we need to know that at some point in time, I need to be very careful that if I start to undermine the science of Krishna consciousness, somewhere we develop doubts, because that is why doubts are to be clarified, especially doubts associated with the sanctity of Krishna consciousness. Doubts are a demon. We are not talking about doubts with respect to technical philosophical doubts. If those doubts that are associated with the sanctity of Krishna consciousness, they are a kind of a demon. They may tend to take us away from our Krishna consciousness. So it is important that we try to learn to know the difference between our sense versus offenses, and eventually we are able to help ourselves in the process of Krishna consciousness and not to commit an offense. So we are going to discuss more on this in our upcoming sessions. We are going to discuss about the code of conduct part of it, and then we are going to get on to the descriptions that are associated with different types of uh, uh, classifications of punishments. So a person who is committing a sinful act in the state of ignorant or arrogance and not practicing Krishna consciousness, there are 28 different hellish planets. And a person who is committing sinful activities in Krishna consciousness, what an example, and like that we are going to go over them. So at this point in time, I would stop here because we are past our time, and then we will take up. I'll stop sharing, and we'll take up any questions or comments. I had a couple of more slides, but then we are at 5 minutes past our scheduled time, so we will go over them. Next class I will try to be more organized because I've been moving around. So please excuse me for my clumsiness. I'll try to serve you all much better in the sessions to come. Hare Krishna, thank you so much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Nitai Gaurav Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. So, any questions or comments we can discuss.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, thank you so much for this wonderful session, as always. And I think Sushilpa Mataji is raising her hand. Mataji, go ahead with your question, please.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Dandavat pranam, all goes to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so very much, Prabhuji. All you have said truly makes sense. I could relate clearly. Prabhuji, one question. You've given two descriptions. One, in the start when we are not Krishna conscious, and the second one if we are in a sadhaka stage as a devotee. Now sadhaka stage as a devotee, thinking we are I'm a devotee, and then causing a offense to a devotee, understood. But another scenario where as per our practice, if I'm in a sadhaka stage trying to follow the devotees, still very, very smaller stage, following the devotees, but few people tend to get attracted to us and they get inspired out of us. First of all, I'm not in a stage to guide them, but they are still not devotee, but they are kind of course they come and tell to us that they are inspired. That's why they are coming to us. So how do we, obviously we get to see, we don't want to be judging them, but that judgmental attitude comes into us, and is that still an offense? How to analyze that, Prabhuji?
So thank you so much for this question. So we will be analyzing this in detail in our next class. But to give you an immediate response, the very definition of demon versus a devotee. Because demons also make mistakes. Demons also commit sometimes some good things or good things, meaning in our recent Vamanadev pastimes, in one place, Srila Prabhupada writes, or there's an explanation given, that just because Bali Maharaj was obedient to his Guru Maharaj, he got so much blessings to the extent that he could win over demigods. So the idea is that, but a person is classified as a demon or a demigod based on one thing: obedience to the authority of the Supreme Lord. So your entire question can be, can be easily held if a person has got obedience, surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then he comes under the demigod category, then he comes under the devotee category. Because the moment I obey the Supreme Lord, accept the Supreme Lord, and acknowledge the present Supreme Lord, I am already a devotee in some capacity. So we all need not say that I am a devotee or not devotee. We can even say I am trying to be a devotee or I am a devotee in that sense. So I am now no more a 12th pass, or when I am in an engineering college taken on admission, I will not call myself as a 12th pass. I'll say I'm an engineering graduate, or I'm a person who is trying to study engineering. So from that perspective, anyone who is performing active devotional purview, accepting the authority of the Supreme Lord, if any mistakes are made, then when we further bifurcated, if those mistakes are made knowingly, unknowingly, and knowingly committed mistakes are definitely punished. In Krishna consciousness, one additional leeway that is given is the moment you ask for paschatap, you ask for forgiveness. My dear Krishna, please forgive me. My dear Vaishnava, please forgive me. Asking for that forgiveness helps him to come out of the situation and be situated back in the same stage as he was before in Krishna consciousness. But in the materialistic scenario, you ask him for forgiveness, you are forgiven, and your punishments are relatively less out of ignorance only, because you have not accepted the supremacy of the Lord. Demons, when they ask for forgiveness, they are forgiven also. But then the problem is that their base level, their baseline is self-centeredness. Here the baseline is accepting the authority of the Lord. I used to always say this: I, me, mine only. That is demoniac. I, me, mine, and Krishna also is a sadhaka. Krishna only is a bhakta. So the idea is I, me, mine only, which means my entire thinking that everything is centered around me is demoniac. I, me, mine, and Krishna also. That is what we are. That is the stage we are all in. Somewhere Krishna is more, somewhere Krishna is less, but Krishna is also in the ecosystem. I buy a car, I offer it to Krishna. I buy a car for me. I cook a food for me. Prabhupada writes in the first shloka of Nectar of Instruction. He says, you cook your food for your own taste, for your own enjoyment, and offer it to Krishna. That is also Prabhupada is condemning it as Jihva Vegam. Arjas of the tongue. So it is, so in terms of sadhaka level, Krishna also, there is something good, but still something to be worked out. But Krishna only, that's the stage where we are supposed to be, going to, where all my thoughts, deeds, actions, characteristics, everything is for the glorifying of the Supreme Lord. So coming back to your point, that a person, if he is in the demigod or a sadhaka stage, so if he is asking for forgiveness, he will be forgiven, and at least he is properly situated. There is a hope to move forward. So that is why Srila Prabhupada did not focus on establishing Varnashrama system, because Varnashrama system fixes these aspects. Srila Prabhupada started with the Sankirtan Yajna, because he established the great solution of this millennium, the Sankirtan Yajna. So people, when they are into Krishna consciousness, they know the master formula. It is important that when we are knowing that all the other things are easily handled, or you are given some extra coupons to redeem. Did I answer your question, Mataji? I'm not sure if I did, but if I not, please let me.
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you so very much. Yeah, these it always gets in. So, yeah, definitely we ask, but yeah, I think in due course of time we'll get to understand more, and then
It is very important, Mataji. It's like this: if you are a devotee, it is like if you are a police officer, you are expected to be extra careful than a regular praja. If you are an army man, you are supposed to be extra careful than a police officer. If you are a brigadier in an army, you are supposed to be extra careful than a normal soldier. So the more the privilege, the more you're why Bharat Maharaj, just because he showed his kindness towards the deer, he's been treated in such a manner that he has to take 2 births before he went back to Godhead. Somebody is in the stage of Bhava, he's almost in the stage of Bhava, just that one small act. In Jadabharata's Pasim, it is explained, one small act. What was that act? He thought for a moment that I can give protection to this deer. His caring towards the deer was not the challenge. He thought that I should care for this deer. And that thought at that stage was considered as a very severe one. So the idea is that as we go closer to Krishna, because we are more closer to Krishna, we have more accountability, and we are supposed to be, Krishna deals with us in a slightly different manner. Of course, that Jadabharata's pastime and Bharat Maharaj, have to go through whatever he has to go through. Still, his sanctity, devotional quotients were all protected. But look at now, the way I chant with so much of distraction, the way I think more of a controller, even in my own congregation, I am the authority, I conducted this festival. So how much whacking I should have? But I've given more leeway. Chalo, he's in the process, he will change. So we are still in the sadhaka stage, so you are allowed. Engineering college, you do some experiments on the tabletop, so your experiments can fail and you are not going to held responsible. After you have graduated as engineer, you go and join a company, and as an employee where you are paid salary, and if you make a mistake, maybe you are given a red flag. So as we go closer to Krishna, so we are supposed to be more responsible and accountable. And as we are going to be against Krishna, for sure we are back, given more grave punishments. So that is why current stage for sadhakas, we are in a very good stage where we can clean up our mess and go closer to Krishna by catching hold of Srila Prabhupada's dhoti. If this adds up to whatever I just said more.
Definitely, Prabhuji. Thank you so very much. Please accept my humble obeisance.
Thank you, Prabhuji. That was a very clear answer. Sindhu Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yeah, sure. There's one more question in the chat window, so I'll take that up after Sindhu.
Thank you, Prabhu, for a wonderful class. I think you're going to cover this maybe in the future, but I have a question regarding the punishments, right? So I've heard both sides, that one side is the soul does not actually suffer. Even though there is the karma pala, it is actually to the body, the material body, the soul does not suffer. So when we get these punishments, what is actually happening, right? Who is getting so for example, if I do a bad thing, I'm getting a bad reaction, and that karma pala I'm going to get in this life. When I get it in this life, I am suffering, my mentality, my mind is the one which is actually suffering. The soul is not suffering. So, where is that correction, or where is that change happening to the soul? Is it because of the ahankara? The soul is thinking, I'm suffering, and through that, the impressions are removed, the vasanas are removed, and that is the correction for the soul. I don't know if I asked you the right
No, yeah,
question.
it's a very, very technical question, and I will give a technical answer. Maybe it is boring, but I will give a technical answer. So, the soul, by its constitutional nature, never suffers, never undergo any pain. By constitutional nature, the soul is Sat Chit Ananda. Because of the misuse of independence, we will be speaking about this in the future session, maybe next after that. Because of the misuse of the only thing the soul's impact or agenda in the entire sequences, he has misused the independence given, and because of he has fallen into this materialistic world. And because he has fallen into this materialistic world, he has given a gross body. So long as the soul was in the spiritual world, he had a divine body, transcendental body, both his transcendental body, gross body, as well as subtle body, they were transcendental and was enjoying. Because of the misuse of the independence, he's pushed to this jail, and that act of independence has put him through various things. So the pain is actually undergone by the body who is the possessor of the soul. It is like I am stuck in United States during COVID period. I am not suffering COVID. I am not traveling anywhere. I am not able to travel. So technically what happened, I was in US, Houston in COVID. I came to Houston for 3 weeks, but I had to stay there for 3.5 months. But the point is, I did not have COVID, thankfully. But because I couldn't move out, because of, I mean, this is just a simple example to understand, not that, I did some offense or nothing, but the example is that the individual, the soul is not suffering, but because of the choice the soul made, I chose to do certain activity, there is an impact, the soul is stuck. He is not able to perform his constitutional service, which is to serve the Lord, which is to go and please the Lord. So technically, I should have done 40 services because I did not, take the decision correctly, or because I did not act on time, because I did misuse my independence in a wrong way. I am stuck. So the suffering of this body, where the soul is stuck, the suffering is to the body, suffering is to the gross body because of the misuse of independence. Did I answer you that?
Yes, Prabhu. But there's one more piece, right? So where is this punishment playing, right? So we started off this session saying that punishment should be taken as corrections, right? Corrections to whatever is happening to us. It is redirecting our energy by the mode of punishment, right? So
it is both ways, no, Mataji, because when I am stuck, let us take this example of my Houston example. Assume that the person is soul and the positioning of being stuck in that particular location is the body. So technically, that soul should have, could have, must have performed some glorious activity and enjoyed his transcendence. But because he is bereft of that, because of my choice, because I did not careful in doing my ticket booking, I missed the yatra. Because I was overconfident, I did not board the train. Otherwise, I would have been in Vrindavan. I should have been in Vrindavan by now. But because I was careless. So the point is, the suffering is primarily to the body, the vacuum, the pain, and things like that. But the purification is for the soul, if it is properly directed. The soul finally gets to realize, yes, I misused my independence. I have not, been careful enough. So let me learn my lessons and utilize my consciousness. So what is associated with the soul is consciousness. What is associated with, devotional life? With consciousness. So all this entire exercise is towards refining our consciousness. But the problem is that we are not able to touch that consciousness today. So this topic of punishment is give punishment to the gross and subtle body and eventually clean them up so that we can go and work on my consciousness. That is why in the festival of punishment, when Raghunath Das Goswami was quote unquote punished, where is the pain? There is no pain, but there is transcendence, enhanced consciousness given. So that is why we are going to discuss in that classification that when we are going to be punished in devotional journey, it is nothing but enhancing your consciousness more and more. When the Gopas punished Krishna, that Krishna you cannot come and play. The word is used punished, but is it punishment? No, that is mellow, pure love. So there is much more, to what we are seeing. So soul definitely does not go through any pain of what the body and the subtle body go through, but soul also learns a lesson by our consciousness refinement. Does it make sense, Nandini?
Yes, Prabhu. It makes sense. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
So there is one more question in the chat box. Is everyone in ISKCON automatically considered devotee? Or is it possible to be a demon while belonging to a spiritual institution? Fantastic question. No. Okay. ISKCON is an institution. Being in ISKCON, there are so many security guards who are working for ISKCON. There are so many, I'm not laughing at your question, I'm laughing at the scenario because we recently discussed about this in one of the forums, that just because I'm a member of ISKCON, am I given necessary protection? No. ISKCON is institution is only one aspect. ISKCON is a lifestyle. Srila Prabhupada did not set up ISKCON as an institution. Please understand, Srila Prabhupada's agenda of setting up his ISKCON is a prototype for the whole world to look at these guys. When you follow them, you will go to the world of happiness. So Srila Prabhupada created a prototype. Srila Prabhupada showed examples. So if I have to show an example, I cannot take an entire mass of the whole world. He has picked up some group of people or a set of policies or a set of regulations. So to answer you, if you see ISKCON as an institution, no, everybody is not by default devotee. If you use the word ISKCON as a lifestyle, yes, because you have subscribed to the ideology of ISKCON, you can be given a title as a devotee or trying to be a devotee. The day, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says this, the day a person chants the name of Krishna once, he can be given the title Vaishnava. And this chanting of the Krishna's name is not just because of some sort of a formality. With the realization that Krishna is Supreme Personality. Krishna! With realization. You are given a title Vaishnava. From that perspective, yes. So ISKCON as an institution, if you see it as an institution, just by being part of the institution, you cannot be given a title as a devotee. But if somebody is subscribing ISKCON as a consciousness, as a lifestyle, then he can be given a title as a devotee. I hope that clarifies.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Very nice answer. I'm very satisfied. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you all devotees for joining today. If there are no questions, we can end the call here. Yes, Prabhuji?
Yeah, sure. There are no questions. We can end the call.
Okay. So we'll end the call here. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya cha patitanam pavnebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namo. All glories to Vaishnava. And thank you, Prabhuji. We'll all resume our next session next Wednesday, same time. Thank you, everyone.
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
Thank you,
all.
Prabhuji.
Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
devotees. Hare Krishna.